we are covering the anti-magic demon's backstory regarding who he is, but also taking it a step further by connecting every single plot point Asta has experienced back to his brother Liebe. Well, is it liebe or liebe?
Liebe.
I've been doing it wrong this whole time, haven't I?
Yes.
You idiot. You're honestly an idiot.
I will also be answering the age-old question regarding who is Asta's mother and how she connects to the timeline we all know. So yes, I will enhance my balls deep analysis in this video.
Okay. Now let's get a good look at you.
Hold it. Run that back.
Wait a minute. Go right.
There, freeze that.
Full screen.
Okay, freeze that.
Tighten up on that way.
Zoom in right here on this spot.
Now this is the final part of my series which I started over a year ago. Remember we tried to identify who the anti-magic demon was since it was such a hot topic that we all wanted to know in the community. I know, feel old, don't ya? 1 year flew by that fast. All because of this damn virus. Oh my god.
Yo, killing me with this.
Blackclover episode 169 has adapted the chapters that uncovered all the secrets regarding the anti-magic demon. So as we know, in chapter 268, Liebe was born in the underworld, as all devils are. And it's here that we get some insight as to what the underworld is like, which is basically exactly what you'd expect it to be like. Horrible! As we've been told by Zagrid and Lucifero, there is a pecking order when it comes to the devil kind, and each devil's place in that order is set when they're born, never changing for the rest of their lives, no matter how lowly or pathetic. In chapter 283 and 286, we learn the tiers in hell are called low-ranked devils, mid-ranked, high-ranked, and then the demon kings who are Lucifer with gravity magic, another devil king with time magic, and the last one with space magic. These other two devil kings will most likely be called Astaroth, Saint Anarchia or Satanasia, or Beelzebub. Hopefully I pronounced that shit right.
Nope.
Lucifuge Raphael, according to the Grand Grimoire, is the Prime Minister of Hell that does the dealings and intercedes for the kings of Hell, just as it was mentioned in chapter 286 of Blackclover. I have been reading these devil books that help to create the show for you guys, so you don't have to. So I'd appreciate if you can support me by smashing that like button in return and hit the notification bell for the channel. I also want to thank every single one of you that has. Moving on, we also learned in Blackclover chapter 281 that devils can be born from humans and other races. Demons are a miracle born from human hatred and the power of the underworld. This is how the two royal brothers from the Spade Nation became high-ranking devils that people assumed to be the demon gods from 500 years ago. Now in the underworld, the high-ranking devils terrorize and harass those below them, and those devils terrorize the ones even below them, and so on and so forth until you get the lowest rank. Until we get to the very bottom, that is, which brings us to Liebe, the #1 lowest ranking devil. So low in fact that the likes of Zagrid and Lucifer don't even know who he is and write him off as some nobody, which, well, yeah, he technically is, but he's not just any nobody, he's the #1 nobody in hell that happens to be the brother of the #1 peasant on earth, which makes them the #1 nobody of all nobodies. But seriously, Liebe's routine every day was to wake up, get harassed and beaten senseless, then sleep, rinse and repeat since the day he was born. However, in the underworld, toying with humans is the biggest thrill a devil can experience, and so they all desire to go to the other world and exist amongst the humans, right? One day, an agitated higher ranking devil threw him at the gate of the underworld. This high ranked devil was most likely Nama or Lilith. At this point of time, Liebe assumed he would just die right then and there, being splattered all across the wall of the door. However, in fact, he hoped he would die at that moment, but instead, he went right through it. Liebe thought all his suffering would come to an end. Due to having no magic power at all, all, Liebe actually phased through the door and now existed in the human world. He wandered around for a while, paying no attention to humans at all due to loathing himself. Liebe hated the fact that he existed. He hated that he was weak, magicless, and was torn apart every single day just for being who he is. The humans also rejected him. Everyone that saw him was not considerate or respectful. They rejected him out of fear, simply because he was a devil. He was chased by humans with powerful magic, but he eventually outran them. Liebe eventually collapsed on the ground by that point. He even states that he was ready to die and that his life was nothing but rotten. No. Oh my god, if you didn't cry at this part of the story. Oh my god, when it was... You probably don't have a heart, fam. Liebe then wakes up and learns that he has survived. He was lying in a comfy bed and greeted by a fine-ass waifu. You know, I think my man really was thinking he died and he went to heaven. You know what I'm saying? You guys were moving wild as hell when Asta's mother was revealed, like, bruh. Extra. Liebe wakes up to an entirely new life, with the one human on the face of the planet that would accept and love him. Lisita. This chick, she understands what it's like to not fit in and feel alone. She faced it her whole life just like her son Asta and Liebe, the anti-magic demon. This is because Lisita has a body that constantly sucks away the mana and life force of any living thing that she comes into proximity with, and so she was forced to live separately from everyone else, in her own little world essentially. In her journey of living alone, squandering the world for supplies and exploring her vicinity, she happened to find the 5-leaf grimoire Licht own. This means that Asta's mother most likely must have lived just outside the area of Haj village, where Asta was left with Yuno. This is because that is where the skeleton of Licht's demon god and grimoire ended up being, right? Also, since Asta's mother absorbs the life force and mana of anyone within her vicinity, it would explain why she was in a rush and had to leave Asta at a nearby church as soon as possible, otherwise he would have died. This means Asta likely has no mana because his mother Lisita had a unique body. This trait might have mutated genetically when Asta was born. The second explanation is that Asta's own mother Lisita absorbed all of his mana before she could even leave him at the church. Lisita accepting Liebe, the anti-magic demon, as her own adoptive son was a way for her to cope with the loss of a biological son known as Asta. She felt extreme loneliness and grief being forced to leave the one human that would have unconditionally loved her for who she is. Finding Liebe was seen as a blessing to her because being a devil meant nothing to her, as she herself was an outcast just like him. This is why their bond became so strong so fast. All of this ties into how Asta ended up at the church at the same time with Yuno. Please stick around to understand. But yes, let me get the elephant out the room. I know you're wondering, wait a second, who the hell banged Asta's mother? If she can kill you just for being around her, she sucks your life force and mana, how did a guy bang her? And I get it, that's what we're all thinking, fam. Who risked it all to get the things?
Who?
I bet a sucky, bruh.
What?
Now, Liebe was a different story from everyone else, since he had no mana. Lisita couldn't absorb a single thing from him. She offered to take him in and let him live with her. She gave him the happy life Lisita and he always wanted. Asta's mother showed Liebe kindness and asked for nothing in exchange, because just his company was perfect. Lisita decides to thank Liebe for freeing her from her prison of loneliness. Asta's brother and mother went fishing together, enjoyed nature looking at its beauty, had baths together, enjoyed breakfast for the first time, made snowmen, and even slept together. Lisita decides to call the anti-magic demon Liebe, and this is where his name comes from, as it means love in German. Asta's name also means star-like love from its Greek origin. So not only do they share the same mother, same problem of no magic, but also their names. Asta's mother has the same personality as himself. She states, just because somebody's a devil doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad guy. After all, you aren't a bad guy. Why do I sound like Mickey Mouse? when suddenly Lucifero takes control of Liebe's body and begins to speak through him. Lucifer lets us know that he is trying to find a way out of hell. He wants to open the gate, and this is why he ends up trying to use the Dark Triad, since Asta's mother Lisita's unique powers stopped him from taking over Liebe and using his lower rank body as a means to walk the earth. Lucifer possesses the power to take over all the devils lower ranked than him, which is 99% of them. When he was bored, he learned in hell that Liebe ended up on earth somehow, that is, and he took his time to find him. Lucifero notices that Lisita is absorbing his mana. He decides to leave, but not before piercing through her stomach and killing her. On the edge of death, as she is on the edge of death, she performs one final act of love and seals Liebe within the 5-leaf grimoire she had found to protect him, leaving him there for years and years and years until Asta found the grimoire. The final words he heard from Asta's mother was Lisita calling him son for the first time, where he had finally got the confidence to call her mum in return. He truly loved her and can never forgive any of the devils that took her away. This is where his goal was born. In chapter 269, we learn Liebe was stuck in the grimoire for over 16 years. Whilst he was in the grimoire, he felt phenomenal amount of anger, hatred and sadness, as Asta mentioned. Liebe didn't have any powers or magic initially. He states in chapter 269 that in the 5-leaf grimoire, it felt like he was floating in empty space. But whilst he was in there, he was cursing at the devils non-stop for 16 years, stating that he wants to kill them and get his revenge, never wanting to forgive them. Once he had become a teen, Liebe manifested in his body anti-magic, which is the power to cancel out magic. But with this power, he needed a vessel. He states he did not choose Asta, but it was the grimoire that did. As we all know, grimoire connects to one's soul, and finally found Asta that would be able to. Now, we kind of have to admit that Blackclover's magic system works on some sort of plot convenience, you know what I'm saying? It works for the allies, but other enemies, but I'm gonna shut my mouth. Delete that shit, fam.
I'm tired of all you pricks! I am so freaking mad!
But basically, once someone surpasses their limits, trains or has extreme emotion, they are able to unlock new spells and magic. We learned in chapter 177 that even if someone wasn't born with inborn ability, if they are dedicated and put unflagging effort into their creed, it could pay off in rare occasions. In a crisis, intense wishes or determination can grant power. This is why Liebe's intense hatred for devils for 16 years manifested his anti-magic powers. The story comes full circle back to Asta once the grimoire had gained a power. Liebe made all the swords anti-magic confirmed by Nero in chapter 205 and 208, and he mixed two powers into one to make it something unique. Now, due to this, no one is able to wield the 5-leaf grimoire, because if you do, you will literally die, as it will absorb your mana until death, just like Asta's mother with a unique body. Asta was born with no mana, so when it was his time to gain a grimoire at 15 years old, the grimoire was able to detect someone that would be able to harness his powers to gain the revenge he wants against all the other devils. I mean, think about it. Asta didn't know any of this, but because he was raised with no mana, he already had the mentality to train hard physically to make up for it, which eventually allowed him to even hold the swords properly. Other mages can't even hold them upright, as even Julius the Wizard King said they are heavy. Eventually, in chapter 270 and 271, after Liebe and Asta have their bout, Asta defeats his brother but defies the servant contract that forces total dominance over the devil. The servant contract forces the devil to give up their powers to the user whenever they want, but Asta does not want this. Instead, he acknowledges his feelings of his brother Liebe and asks him to be his friend. Asta understands that Liebe is the person for him winning all his fights from before, and the anti-magic demon is the reason why he is alive today. He decides that he wants to know more about his brother, the anti-magic demon, and believes he isn't a bad guy just like his mother Lisita did. Liebe was holding back against Asta, and he detected that, and he didn't really want to kill him in their fight. This is because Liebe knows Asta was Lisita's son due to their resemblance, but his emotions of wanting to revenge pushed him to the edge of wanting to take over his body. However, Asta comes to understand his brother. The anti-magic demon isn't the type of person to kill and is able to put himself in other people's shoes just like him, since they are cut from the same cloth per se. Asta and Liebe Liebe, the anti-magic demon, they have the same feelings as well as the same aligned goals. Once Asta says that they will crush the bad guys together equally, and then he proceeds to make the same smile as their mother, Liebe accepts him and makes the equal contract. Now from all of this, we learn multiple things on how it connects to the past events involving the anti-magic demon. For example, now we know why Lucifer in chapter 243 stated to Dante when he asked about Asta's demon that he does not know who he is and presumes that the anti-magic demon must be of lower class and a nobody due to the nature of the magic, calling it poultry. Now this is because no one would know in hell, as Liebe didn't have anti-magic in the first place. He was the lowest ranked devil of all, and Lucifer, to be honest, could be lying. This also explains why in chapter 212 Zagreus said the same thing. Furthermore, in chapter 97 the anti-magic devil said he was closer to Asta than anyone this whole time, and he proves he can see everything Asta sees from the inside. We now have the answer why he said that. This is because Liebe is his adopted brother, and he knew his mother and has been secretly looking out for him this entire time, as Asta admitted it was thanks to him for winning the battles. Anyway, now you know everything about the anti-magic demon and Asta's mother. Please can